Good morning, Bitcoins, and welcome back to part 2 of the World Crypto Network's live coverage from the Lightning Conference in Berlin. We're joined by Vitas from Team Satoshi. How's it going?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So what do you guys do at Team Satoshi?
Well, basically, it's just a hobby project of mine. So what I did was on 3rd January this year, for the 10th anniversary of Genesis Block.
Yeah.
I did a little bike tour. I started in Florence, where 600 years ago modern banking started.
Nice.
And I went to Frankfurt in front of the ECB, crossing the Alps, and a lot of snowy and icy days. And my mission was not only to do the bike tour, but to pay every night in the hotel with Bitcoin.
Whoa.
So yeah, that was a challenge.
Yeah.
Out of 9 nights, bless you.
Caught that one, but yeah, no, it's going to keep happening.
Out of 9 nights, I paid 7 nights with Bitcoin. 2 nights it didn't work out.
That's pretty good. I went to Rovierto, the Bitcoin city, on the way out there.
Right.
And it was very nice.
I didn't pass through Rovereto.
Yeah.
I passed directly, basically, pretty much directly from Florence to Frankfurt. It was 1,000 kilometers. I had to be able to do it in 10 days because it was the 10th anniversary. So yeah.
Nice.
And now we did another project. It was called Satoshi Triathlon. It was a freestyle triathlon, 4-day freestyle triathlon from Zug in Switzerland to Munich. This is what we produce, this running gear.
Very cool. So you got local Bitcoin sponsored you. Who else sponsored you?
Yeah, that's Bitcoin & Co podcast from Anita Posch.
Cool.
And we're searching for more sponsors. So we're going to produce, there's quite a bunch of people now who want the shirts, who want to run with those shirts. And we want to encourage that, obviously, to bring out the ideas of the cypherpunks and Bitcoin. And there's also a website if anybody wants to join, support, or talk about Team Satoshi. Just visit teamsatoshi.org. You can also create your own challenges. It's a wiki site, so you can create an own account, create own sports challenges, and maybe you can find a community in your local country that maybe donates or helps you doing your own challenges.
Well, that sounds great. And I've always thought that we should have a jersey like this and that people should have the sponsorships. And even with this conference here, I looked on the back of the bag and there wasn't anything. In the back of the t-shirt, there's a couple of names, but there's not as many as I think there should be for such a allegedly rich industry with all these big companies. And I know a lot of people are cutting back on sponsorships and it's a bear market and all those kind of things. But I really do think it provides value to the community when you have your name on the shirt. And when you guys are out there running, you're putting in your time. The least we could do is have the sponsors support you as well.
The thing is also you get a lot of exposure. Like sportsmen spend a lot of time doing their sports. So we also have cycling clothes. They spend a lot of time doing that sports, and these clothes hold for many years. So they spend them for good reason, for good purpose. They run outside, people see it. So it gets a lot of exposure, and I think that's good for the Bitcoin space, hopefully, and for the sponsors as well,
Definitely. And I know for like the conference here, I was looking at the swag that I gave us, and it's all interesting. And then you get to the bag, and I'm like, oh, this is what I'm going to use all the time. I still have like an old bag from Miami like 3 years ago that's kicking around holding my equipment. I'm like, oh, that's a good bag. Like this is, useful. Take you to the grocery store. It says Lightning on it. Nobody cares what Lightning is. So it's really good. Like the whole Bitcoin thing got a little heavy, like holding a Bitcoin bag everywhere, showing it off. Like you're not really showing it off. You're like a fan of the technology. You're not crazy rich with it like everyone thinks. But yeah, just because you have an old bag. So that's cool. So you did bicycle riding, you did running. What else are you going to do? Are you going to do a triathlon, like a combination of
actually
the
Satoshi Triathlon was actually a triathlon. So it was 4 days of like swimming, running, and biking. So we also crossed the biggest lake in Germany, 12-kilometer swim.
That Lake Constantine?
Bodensee. It's called Bodensee. So yeah, that was a 5-hour swim. And we did 290 kilometers of cycling and 65 kilometers of running.
Wow.
So it was quite a challenge. We prepared for it for quite a while. And also Jeremias Kangas from Local Bitcoins joined the first day. So yeah, he's also quite sporty. I was very surprised on how he managed to do that. Yeah.
Well, I think this is a great way to expose people that maybe aren't into sports, or to get them to start training. And they're just kind of, anyone can do this. Anyone can be an athlete. Right. It takes a lot of work,
right.
But if you put in the work, you can do it. Yeah. And there's this thing, Bitcoiners only eat meat, or Bitcoiners only sit behind their computer all the time. I think we need to break these stereotypes when you say there's all kinds of Bitcoiners. There's sporty Bitcoiners, nerdy Bitcoiners, meat eaters, vegetarians, men, women, other things. Like everybody can be a Bitcoiner.
It's a diverse space. And I mean, I think the carnivores can use some exercise for sure. And the non-carnivores as well. So I'd like to be become a Bitcoiner thing, to take care of their own body and their own health and start exercising. So I don't know if you heard about the Run for Hal Finney.
No, when are you going to do that?
No, it's actually already happened. So
nice.
On September 6, 2009, Hal Finney ran his last run. He was already diagnosed with ALS. So for the 10th anniversary, we asked Bitcoiners to join for a run.
Yeah.
Anywhere, any speed, any time, any distance. And so many people joined, including Matt Corallo and Rene Pickard and quite a few known people. And so we're going to do that on a yearly basis. Now the next event will probably be for the Hal Finney.
The Hal Finney.
Yeah.
Hal Finney.
So probably a half marathon up a mountain to, I don't know, draw a little bit the price expectations.
Yeah, have the price follow. That'd be good. I really like it when it's tough, because the minute I say this, it'll get terrible. But I like it when people recognize Hal Finney. I think he's really good. He's got a real symbol to him, the way that he was so into Bitcoin. He helped out Satoshi all the time with the testing. Right. He could have taken advantage of the system and gotten a bunch. And then even then, I'm sure his family, they seemed like they sold it way early, and they benefited, but not that much. And then, of course, the disease, and then the silencing, and then maybe being frozen or something. He's a very fascinating guy. And to bring him onto this run, I think is really cool. I'm afraid corporations will take it, and there'll be a Hal Finney conference next year. And there'll be all these put his name on tokens or whatever. I hope that doesn't happen, but I like this idea.
Thank you. So. Yeah. A lot of people liked it, I think, so we were encouraged to do it again, and we'll definitely do it as a yearly thing.
Yeah.
Memory of.
Well, and so many people are just about the money, and Hal's one where it's about the technology. He was on the Cypherpunk mailing list. He wanted this thing to happen. He thought about ways to break it. He thought about future problems, but if the price is this much, he's got all those Bitcoin talk forums where he's like, oh yeah, if the price is this much, we'll have to do this, this, and this. And he's totally right. We ran into all the problems that he foresaw, just having thought experiments and just thinking about it.
So. Right. I mean, and I think not just the technology, was also interested in the philosophy behind it. I mean, the whole cypherpunk ideals, he was a cypherpunk.
Yeah.
And that's, I think when I talk to people in my network, in my surroundings, what people usually don't understand is the ideas that Bitcoin is based, or where Bitcoin actually came from. And if you start with explaining these ideas first, before you start with what a block is, or what a transaction is, or what Bitcoin actually is, when you start with these ideals first, people listen to you. When you start with the technology first, they don't listen to you. So that's what I've learned in now 6 years, trying to advocate for Bitcoin. Start with the ideas, start with the cypherpunks where Bitcoin come from.
I think that's the way to go, because then they know why things are happening. Because otherwise you could just do it in a centralized database, and it could be owned by Facebook, and it wouldn't matter. But if you're trying to have it distributed and decentralized, and so people can't tell what you're doing, they can't cancel your spends, they can't say we don't accept money from you. It's just this kind of pseudo-anonymous tokens being sent around, and there's a reason for all this. But if you don't know the philosophical side, or what they're trying to do, or even what the cypherpunks are trying to do, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense, and you become suspect. Why would you do that? Is there just illegal activity behind it? And no, you have to make sure people understand what the ideas are about and why this is essential for our future.
Yeah, I saw Jameson Lopp's talk yesterday, and he was talking about privacy and how you know, his family was swatted. They sent the SWAT team in after them. And then after that, of course, he kind of freaked out and had a whole privacy thing, and he tried to be private. And one of the big notes that he said is that everyone's always, oh, I don't have anything to hide, all those things. But he had this tweet, and I've already forgotten her name again. But this poor woman, she went on an airplane, and she left behind a joke tweet before she took off. And it's a terrible joke tweet. I don't even really want to repeat it, but she was like, oh, I'm a white person. I'm going to Africa. I hope I don't get AIDS. Ha, just kidding, joke. And like the lady's joking. She's just not good at joking. And she puts this joke up there. And pretty much by the time her airplane lands, she doesn't even know this is happening. The entire internet's mad at her. 3,000 retweets, hundreds of responses. You're a terrible racist lady. And again, she's just making a stupid joke. Like she tried humor. She failed. Humor is a hard concept, takes a lot of risk. And what Jameson was saying is that obviously this lady now has something to hide, and she's like exemplifying to all of us why privacy matters, why we need some kind of privacy, some kind of something. What are you missing, Max? Is it behind the things? Took it out where? Did you set it somewhere? Because I mean, in here, I think we're pretty secure. I got the internet watching it. All right, well, we're gonna keep looking for Max's bag. Yeah. All right, go find it. We're set up. See, sometimes this works, like the live stream and the couch, but sometimes like it fails quick. Okay. And then you're like sitting here, and then the vultures come and they're like, can we use your room? Like I noticed you stopped using the room for like 10 seconds to eat some food. Maybe we could use the room for an hour to do nothing. And I'm like, that doesn't make, why did I set up there and all my stuff so we do nothing? But no. But so what else are you guys going to do? What's planned next? You got the Hal Finney half marathon every year. And again, I love all you got to do HAL. Like, so it's a half marathon and it's a Hal Finney. Yeah. And again, his name is like also great because he's the computer, right? He's HAL 9000, which is one letter off from IBM. Yeah. That's how they got the name for that.
The next projects, I mean, we'll see. So what's happening is we also created a lightning torch. It's called Team Satoshi torch or TS torch.
Nice.
And so it's handed around from athlete to athlete. We handed it around during the triathlon.
Cool.
And now there are a few marathon runners that had it. And today somebody is running a marathon, an ultra marathon in Singapore with the lightning torch. Next weekend, somebody is running it in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, marathon. And the weekend after, somebody is running with the Team Satoshi torch at the New York City marathon. So yeah, I'd like to go to, that torch also move around. The idea is basically almost like the Olympic fire. From athlete to athlete, bringing it forward. And they all add the kilometers that they did in sats. So yeah, that's the idea with the TS torch. And what else? I mean, yesterday we did a community run before the conference.
Nice.
So maybe we can do that for several conferences, to engage Bitcoiners to be healthy and do exercise.
Well, I would start with a walk.
Yeah,
but I think a walk is a great idea. And
Yeah.
I think, again, we need to have these kind of diverse events. Like a lot of us sit in the chair all the time. I edit video,
Right.
other people write programs or they write articles and stuff.
Right.
It's a lot of chair,
Right.
and we're stuck there.
Right.
And so I think doing some walks, I always try to encourage people to see the city that they're visiting. A lot of people just come to the conference and then they go back to the airport.
Yeah.
And especially like Berlin, there's so many great museums here and just so much history
There's
and
a lot to see.
buildings.
There's a lot to see.
And I think maybe combine that with a walk, just get the people out. Like so many times now we have these big carnivore meeting things and they eat a bunch of steak and they think that's really healthy for them. And I'm sure in the short term they'll be fine, but in the long term it's going to be really bad. Whereas in the short term, if we could get people just to do some exercise, to do a walk, to do even clomping up and down the stairs here would be more than all these people are going to get.
Sure.
So.
I mean, any exercise is good for your body and a healthy diet is important. Yeah.
And then on the torch thing, I forget his name, and that's happening more and more lately. But there's a guy on Twitter. I think he plays for, I want to say like the Los Angeles Rams football team in America. So like it's big. Russell. I think And I don't know him or anything, but as a sports thing, this seems really up his alley. So I don't know if you could get him to take the torch, get him to wear one of the shirts,
Hopefully.
maybe go try to see him at a practice or a game or something. Slip a little note, hey, we're Bitcoiners too, and you know, we think it's super cool. You're a professional football player. You're obviously crazy fit and like all into this, and then just try to involve him because we don't have many athletes. I think we should have more. I've seen things. There's a soccer team or a football team that has a big Bitcoin on their logo that one of the betting companies or something is doing. And I think that's great. I mean, I think it's the kind of exposure. I was a big fan. They only did it one time, but I was a big fan of the BitPay Bitcoin Bowl college football game. I watched it on TV. We did a live stream. We commentated the whole thing. It was very thrilling to have Bitcoin in the big screen and everything. And even though the announcers were like, oh, we don't know what Bitcoin is, but it's today's sponsor. And I was like, that's good enough. You know, it's getting the word out there. So they're saying in the chat, you should try a Segway or a scooter tour. That sounds good for maybe the less fit people. At least they could still join along. But you really want to get that heartbeat going. You want to get the pounding.
Normally, yes. Normally, yes. I mean, normally exercise has to do with your own muscles and not with the battery. If you use the battery, do it, but also use your own muscles.
That's the way to go. And I think the key there, start small. Like if you don't exercise at all, just around the block is good. You can do 5 minutes a day. Like maybe you could do 10 minutes in a few weeks. It's the big mistake that I always do is I always go from 0 to walking really far or 0 to running, and then you just get worn out and you can't do it. So.
I mean, if you want to start exercising, start today with a very small step. You know, the first step is a good step, and you'll notice once you get into a little bit of a habit, every time after doing an exercise, you'll feel good about it. You get the runner's high or the sports high, which actually exists. I mean, I have to say, before the triathlon we did this year, I wasn't a good swimmer, so I didn't have much of swimming technique. I did a small swimming course, and then I trained myself to be able to do 14 kilometers. So
nice, that's amazing, man.
So yeah, it's you can do anything. Just put your mind to it. It's the same in Bitcoin. Obviously, if you want to learn about the technology, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. Same with sports and exercise.
The other really neat thing to notice is that action comes before motivation. Like nobody feels like going to the gym, but if you take action, and one of the easiest actions is to put your shorts or your gym clothes on. That's one of the parts of going to the gym or going on a run. And if you're sitting there around your house in your gym clothes, you're probably going to go for a run that day. Otherwise, you're just going to sit around the house all day being like, why am I all ready for a run but not running? It's just like you put on your pajamas to go to bed. Like you want to go for a run, put on your gym clothes, put on your shorts. That's the first step. Not like wanting to do it. Like I never want to do it. But if I put the clothes on and I sit around, I'm like, why am I wearing these clothes? And then if I go run and then come back, have a shower, whatever, it's like, I did it. I'm done. And I don't have to do it anymore. So major key.
Yeah, it becomes fun. Like once you get into the habit, it really becomes good fun.
All right. And where can people learn more about Team Satoshi?
Just visit teamsatoshi.org. If you want to see what Team Satoshi has like done so far, go on Twitter, #Team Satoshi. There's a lot to find there. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Thanks so much for the interview.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.